Welcome to the Exposed Strength Podcast with Jerry Binney. In today's episode, I'm going to go over some questions that I've received through email regarding online training, regarding jumping questions, regarding just our basic training structure and some of the other things we do. So let's get into it. I know I've been absent for a while. I'm going to start getting back on this podcast game. I've got a lot of people that have a lot of questions from all over. Like this first one's from Bay. Hi, I'm from Perth, Australia, and I was wondering if you sell online training programs. No, maybe once that stupid book comes out. The book is done, like I said. I'm just waiting on some issues. I'm trying to do everything myself. I'm not hiring anybody out. I'm going to self-publish the thing, waiting on copyright things for other things about it, and things like that. It's just not so simple. I'm not really, say, this book oriented and trying to structure it. Once, just like the podcast, once I started off with the podcast, I had to go through things like which mics sound the best, which camera, the different lighting, trying to make it more professional. Like I want good high quality sound. I don't care how much the mics cost. When I first started, if you listen to like first 2 or 3 episodes, it kind of sounds like I'm sitting off in a hole somewhere recording the podcast. And I was like, dang, if you got good information and crappy sound, no one's gonna listen to you. But if you got great information and crappy sound, you'll still get people to listen to you. So I want good high quality sound. My book, I just don't want to put a book out there if it's not what I want. Like when I do my, like the name, Explosive Mechanics, with the science and the meanings and stuff that go behind the logo itself, it's going to be the same thing as a book. I just not going to throw out crap information. If I put something out, it's going to be good. I like being very good at what I do. I take pride in what I do. I study what I do, and I try to study so that when someone else has all these questions, I'm going to explain why and the underlying factors of the why. So it's just not on the stuff, hey, Jerry, just throw a book out there. No, I'm not just throwing a freaking crappy product out. It's going to be good. So if I sell online programs, no. Once the jump book comes out and you see the basic structure of how we do our jump training, I'll probably sell example workouts. I'll probably sell different stuff, but I need to get this done. I need to get this out first. And once that's out, hopefully February 2022, I can start doing online training programs. And as far as online training stuff, I'm not going to be out there trying to do everybody in the world. It's me. You're going to have, if I do this, it's going to be me writing the program. It's going to be me interacting with you. I don't have interns that I pay that's going to do all this other stuff for me. I want interactions. If you want results, I want you to get results, you know. So that's me and that's how I am, and so be it. Okay, this next question comes from Bobby. Hi, Jared. Thank you for all the content you publish on Instagram and your podcast. I've been measuring my 40-yard dash with the brows for a few years now, and nothing has driven progress like your training advice. Bobby, thanks very much. Number one, can I pay extra to purchase whatever draft you have currently for the Dumbbell Jump book? Unfortunately, I do get that question a lot, and I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm just going to wait for the book. I know y'all are dying to get this book, so eventually this book thing is going to happen. It's written. I've got it structured, detailed. I've got a why about the neuromuscular responses and how to progress and how we kind of written in our folders at the gym. Be patient. Hopefully another month, maybe less than a month. I don't know. I'm just waiting on that stuff. It's not always. It's me because I'm trying to do everything myself and not hire it out, because just like the podcast, when I set all this up, I had to learn. No one really helped me, so I didn't have to rely on someone if something went wrong or went down or whatever. Once I figured it out, we're rolling. I could do it more often and get a little bit better at it. So same thing with the book. Once I get this done, it'd be like the first podcast. Oh, geez, I finally got that done. Then I could do more because I know the process of what I did is going to be faster. So like the first time you start to go do stuff, you don't really kind of know where you are or how to get from point A to point B. But once you've driven from here for me to Atlanta, it's like, okay, it's easier. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So once this thing's done, it hopefully gets easier for me to put out more content out there and just reach more people than just us at the gym. So is there a percentage amount drop off you look to see when selecting dumbbell jumps or weights? I.e. a kid who jumps 40 grabs whatever weight forces him to only jump 30. A kid jumps 29, grabs a dumbbell, forces him only to jump 19. No, I don't do that. I don't like that. We post 30s with 30s. and 30s with 35s just because it's cool. It's not what we're kind of going for, going after. Had a kid the other day almost jump a 35 with 30s. So I had a kid jump a 31 with 40s. That's cool. People want to see that on Instagram and things like that. But the structure is totally different kind of what you see, which has got kids that can produce a lot of force in a short period of time, getting them off the ground. So no, I'm not looking for any fall offs or anything like that. I am looking for athletes at different levels of weights for them to develop a pattern so that we can see where their peak is, so they know where they are. So if we're trying to get ready for a combine or a summer camp, we can actually work backwards because we'll know where they are with certain things. I'm reading Super Training right now and learning more about the brief maximal tension method and static dynamic method for box squats. Is there anything else you recommend reading to learn quickly how to program box squats for sports performance? I like the book Power Scientific Approach by Fred Hatfield. That's got a lot of good information in there. The Managing Training of Weightlifters. Read these books and read what they're speaking about when they're talking about the brief maximum tension method, what they're talking about when they're using the maximum effort, dynamic effort method. When you read these books, just read, how can I apply this to me? How can I apply this to what I am trying to accomplish? Like Louis at Westside, how can I use the dynamic effort method to help me produce better squats? You know, they're working on the rate of force development. They got to develop force very quickly before the squat suit stops working. That's why they speed squat. We don't speed squat. Our dynamic effort, our explosive strength, if you read the Managing Training of a Weightlifter, it talks about explosive strength. And later in some other texts, it was termed the governing dynamics or whatever. So it talks about the dynamic effort is developing explosive strength. Weightlifters use the hang clean and the hang snatch to develop explosive strength. The weight's light enough to where it elicits a powerful stretch at the bottom. And if it's light enough to where it can elicit a great stretch at the bottom, the faster and harder a muscle stretch, the greater it will contract. So we will use, that's why jumping without weight does not work, you know, because you have nothing light enough to overload the system to where we can produce these desired results. So read what I'm trying to look at some books over there. I didn't plan on, I just kind of put everything off the side because I can recall most of the stuff right off the top of my head. But we don't do any more than 5 reps. We usually are in 3s to 5s. So very rarely do I have them do 2s, but sometimes that's in there. It just depends on how fast that person's squatting, what I'm looking for. And sometimes I just do stuff as an experiment. The kid had his feet close on the box squat that I posted on Instagram. He had 500 pounds if you're looking at it bar weight, but the bar is actually a 60-pound bar, so it's actually 515. When his feet started off only about 6 inches, the kid likes to talk shit, so let's see if you can do this. That ain't how we box squat, but that's how my brain will. Hey, look, let's see if you can do this. You know, just talk shit to them. You know, like drive the atmosphere. Hey, yeah, once that's done, sit down, no belt, boom, stood up with it. Explosive. I don't give a crap if it's right or wrong. That's power. When you're playing sports, not perfect. There's no, these technique Nazis, they got to get over it. You know, hey, that's the worst box squat form ever. Well, obviously, you don't follow me, so you have no clue what I do. You just saw one video and you comment. Well, your comment shows your ignorance, so don't talk to me. Okay, enough of that. Hello, Jared. My name is Jake. I'm a high school strength coach in Houston, Texas. I love listening to your podcast, and I see you have a problem wondering why your athletes' 10 and 20-yard dashes are always indicators of the 40-yard times. Well, our 20-yard dash is a direct indicator of the 40-yard times. Our 10s are not. Sometimes I get an athlete that runs a great 10, and when their 20's crappy, they run a crappy 40. So we don't spend a lot of time running 10s. I know I'm different than most everybody out there. I've got full 40 yards inside on turf. I don't have to go to a certain place. So if I want to drop down, if I want to go to the gym more and I want to test 40s, I test 40s when test week is. I usually test their 40s twice per week, just to see if kind of there's different things going So sometimes that last week of the month, I'm watching over 240-yard dashes per month. And so when I write down their 10, their 20, and their 40. And a lot of kids see people on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, hey, I need to do speech rate. Hey, I need to work on my start. I need to work on my start. I need to work on my start. No, you don't. It's so annoying. And so that's the whole thing I try to get out about some of these kids is that your 20 is more important than your 10. Just because you run a good 10 don't mean you're going to run a good 40. Because you got a kid that ran a 1.54 10-yard dash that had a worse 40 than the kid who ran a 1.61 10-yard dash. If you're working on a 10-yard dash with a laser system or something like that, it may help if you're going to the NFL Combine or something like that, get used to the touchy start. But besides that, they can run 10s all day long and it's not going to equal up. So the 20-yard dash for us, usually if you run a 2.7, it's going to be a 4.7 to a 2.6, it's going to be a 4.5 or a 4.6 range, depending. I'm trying to get a lot more of these calculation things going on with some of that. I just don't really hammer it, but let's see if I can get at you, Jake. Let's see. That's not always indicated 4 times. Well, Cal Dietz made a calculator based on his research. Yes, thank you for sending that to me. It's something I need to look into, that calculator. I did try to play with it a little bit before I did the podcast, so it would be fresh in my brain. I couldn't quite figure it out. So I need to spend a little bit more time with that. I'm kind of pushed this podcast toward the end of the day, so I didn't want to spend too much time. I made sure when I emailed the people back that, hey, I'm going to do a podcast this Friday, I'm going to do a podcast this Friday. There's things I got to do later on that I didn't want to spend too much time looking at the calculator and not being able to get to what I need to get to. So, but I will look into it. I appreciate you sending that to me. Force and stride length compared, stride, power, speed stuff. Okay. Has a great 20, but it's not going to 10's lacking the strength stride. Yes, I need to look into that because that could be some very valuable information. And as I look into it more, Jake, I'll try to speak about it on another podcast. Based on what I was thinking, you might be able to improve your training system by making your athletes jump with lighter dumbbells or even no weight at all. Well, on our dynamic effort, we do dynamic effort all the time, which is our jumps. We jump with and without weights in the same day. Strength, make sure power, speed, jump heavy dumbbells to get faster, stimulus, lacking strength qualities. Hopefully the book covers why I have chosen the weights for the different athletes that I have. Gonna have example jump stickers in there for people of various jumps. Hopefully you can get an indicator of how I want that done or how I do it to get all these numbers. Over this Christmas break, I probably have about 3 kids. So I can take my vertical jumps from 35, 40-inch verticals to almost 38, 40-inch verticals. You know, it'd be really cool if I had 40-inch verticals before the book actually gets finished. Don't think that's going to happen because I want the book out before I reach that goal. But 40-40s would be pretty sick. Let's see, make sure. With all that being said, my question is, why don't you do weighted sled sprints in the same style you perform the dumbbell jumps? Well, Jake, we were working on that with some of the college kids that have already reached the 40-inch vertical before they went back to college. But we tried it. I think some of their times maybe got a little worse. I'm saying worse, maybe went from a 4.81 to a 4.87, so maybe no change. Have not had enough time. That's a great idea. We have started working on that this past summer. But killing too much time with the sprinting over there on the turf. So we come in, we squat first, then we go jump. Then we have to get our accessories, but then sometimes before we get our accessories, we'd come in with squat, jump, sled sprint. We didn't substitute the, I guess we did some of these. We did have the athletes, instead of the squat, sprint, instead of go jump, but they've already reached the 40-inch vertical. If you try to get the kids, once you get 40, 41-inch, 42-inch vertical, wherever, that's a great idea. I've not had enough time with the kids that have had those 40-inch verticals, because if I can get them to jump higher, I can get them to run faster. So hopefully I'm just not rambling on too much with this. But yeah, I have played around with it, but I've not perfected it. So, but good idea, great thought process. Exactly how we do our dumbbell jumps with that. I feel like the reason you get such good vertical jump results because you place emphasis on the dumbbell jumps. Correct. Yes. If I put that on sled, you can improve the 40 times more. I don't know. It sounds like a good idea. Jumping's more dynamic than running because if you got the weighted sled, the joint angle extension does not happen as quick as it would with the dumbbells. And so hopefully I'll get in the book why the dumbbells with the jumps, you know, and if we could figure out something like that for the sleds, we could have something pretty going on. I see a lot of NFL athletes, they have lower vertical jump numbers, but better 40-yard dash times. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into running the 40. The sled sprints are a perfect way to improve sprint form without teaching technique. Yes, that's true. Okay, good way to improve feet strength, translate to the vertical force. I think the jumps will translate to the sprints better, but I don't know if the sprints will translate to the jumps. Based on system UC, which would be measured 10 to 20 times every week, improving sprinting for basically from because, okay, not sure how to load sled properly. Yeah, me either. Not sure exactly how to load the sled properly, but based on a little bit of research, I was able to, that 50% velocity is peak power load, 50% is very high. Anyways, if you're reading this, Jake, I'm gonna look into this email a little bit more and try to figure out how I can better explain all this stuff. So anyways, if you're reading this, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Jake. Thanks for the question. Any thoughts on triphasic training? I've got the book. I've not read it. I know some of the old Russian texts talk about the isometric stuff and sometimes the eccentric stuff. Eccentrics, you can still strengthen your ligaments and tendons with heavy loads, but I've not really looked into Cal Dietz's triphasic training enough to even know to talk about it. I do have it. I do need to read it, but I've not. So hopefully I'll get around to this loaded email. I do appreciate the big questions. So it gets me to thinking. I like to think when I get too simplistic of questions, I can just rattle it off. But I like to think, I like to experiment, I like to try to do things that most people can't do, or, you know, and then once I do, I can help you. But sometimes when I even know what I'm doing, people still don't listen to what I even tell them. Okay, this next question. Alex, far from England. Is there any chance you can send me a sample workout of what a lower body day would look like? Well, Alex, for instance, what we did yesterday is we came in, we squat. Next is on the list is dumbbell jumps. The next thing on the list, we did 45 hyper, or we did back extensions, something for the lower back, something that isolates the lower back. And then after that, we had like a superset with like knee over toe lunges and Nordics, or knee over toe lunges with just regular leg curls. And sometimes we may do banded leg curls, just depending on the population. So you come in, you squat, jump, isolate the lower back, do something for the upper and something for the lower hamstring. And at the end of the day, we had tread sled, 1 15-second all-out sprint. And we don't change that all the time. You know, I know all these people are looking out for a magic pill. Hey, what's the latest, coolest exercise? You know what? That was on the list. I think that exact order, squat, jump, isolate, lower back isolation, which is either 45 hyper, or back extensions, which is hyper extensions too, just different angles. Then we did a superset with lower and upper hamstring. Then we did a 15-second all-out sprint. We may have ran that for 2 weeks straight without changing the order of exercise. You know, if we change the order of exercise too often, we don't ever get enough of a stress response in that tissue for that thing. And usually after about 6 exercises, 6 workouts, then you can switch. So if you're squatting 3 days a week like we do, you can switch the lower back isolation thing from 45 hyper to back extension. You can just rotate 45 hyper 2 weeks, back extensions for 2 weeks. Then you can change up whether you're doing banded leg curls, Nordics, or just regular leg curls. And instead of doing knee over toe lunges, you could do like Bulgarian squats and stuff for the single leg stuff. The single leg stuff really helps with the adductors. If you don't do single leg stuff and you think whatever you think, it's the single leg stuff that helps strengthen the adductors. The knee over toe lunges help stretch out our Achilles, opens up the knee, synovial joint, and It helps stretch out the rear hip flexor. The rear hip flexor has a lot to do with force production into the ground during sprinting. So that's a lot of reason why some of that stuff is on there. So anyway, I hope that helps. That's kind of a day. Now, I think you sent me an email for percentages and everything for a month. It is highly individual. And if someone wants to know that information, I'm not just going to freely give that. That's going to have to be something that I will do for online training for. So if I do that. Hi, Jared. This is Ryan. I really enjoy the podcast. I have one question on your recent ones. You were explaining days in which you bench or squat. One of them you explained you might build up to a 1 rep at 90%. The other days, for example, if you're benching 3 times a week, would you be looking at still doing brief maximum tension? Ryan, the thing is I deal with young athletes, high school athletes, so their ability to be able to recover is extremely high. And I was trying to explain in the seminar last weekend that I went and spoke at is when you have a kid or an athlete that is not very experienced, like in his training years I've talked about before, you know, like back in the day, early 2000s, Louis would have his people do a 2 or 3 rep max, early 2000s. But as the athletes got stronger, going from 700, 800 to 1,000 pound benches, the stronger they were, the less volume they needed. And so then I think about 2008, 2010 range, Lou said max effort is 1. Max effort is 1. Well, the brief maximum tension is a sub-method of the maximum effort method, causing the same neuromuscular response process. So the thing about an advanced athlete is they know how to strain and grind. It may take a kid 2 or 3 reps. So if they were doing a set of 5, the first 3 are cruiser kind of weights, but the 4th rep or the 5th rep may that's when their maximum effort comes. It takes 3 reps to fatigue them, you know. So the brief maximum tension, you can do 3s, 4s, or 5s. But you got to think if they're cruising, if they can't strain, the whole point is learning how to strain, learning how to call all fibers to fire optimal discharge frequency. If a kid that's low training years and experience, if they try to do a 1 rep like max effort, and it's either go down and get up, or boom, there's no grind or strain, they may have to do 3 or 4 or 5 reps. Sometimes, like when we're doing a set of 5, the 5th rep is almost like a max, like you're maxing. It's like, that's what a max attempt feels like. So sometimes, depending on the athlete, that's kind of where they are and what they're doing. To build up to a 1 rep at 90%, no, Ryan, if you are listening to this, email me the episode where I said we did that so I can kind of go back and explain why I said it, if I did say it. To try to figure out where my thought process was in that episode. Because usually when I get on this thing, talk, I don't really go back and listen to myself. So hopefully I can answer your questions to the best. On other days, example, you're benching 3 days a week, we are doing brief maximum tension method 3 days a week. That's what I was trying to say about being less advanced than the more advanced. And so I can still do it myself, and I'm a more advanced bencher than most people. Is even at my age, I can still get away with 2 days a week. So 1 week I can do twice a week brief maximum. Next week I can do 3. Next 2. Biggest thing is training frequency and consistency. If I don't stay on my patterns, I kind of tend to fall off a little bit quicker. So I think just an experiment. You know, it's just not 1 day dedicated to max effort, 1 day dedicated to speed. That's not enough volume for the less advanced. You know, they got to have more. It's kind of like learning a foreign language. You know, if you go learn Japanese, next week you learn French, next week you learn German, you're too dispersed. So you need to become efficient in speaking German. That way then you can become efficient in speaking French. So once you can speak French, German, you understand English, you've got to do enough of something to where you're not going to forget a whole lot of it, just kind of like our body systems. and you'll be a lot better off. But if you try to switch too often, or if you just have one dynamic effort and one max effort, at your training level, that may not be right for you, is all I'm trying to say. It's like when Lou came out with the West Side, and that's how West Side does it. Conjugate, what in the books he was reading years ago to develop the conjugate. Louis didn't invent the conjugate system. Louis made the conjugate system popular. So, and that's raising different strength qualities, so we don't have a loss of others. So let me see if I can pull up something here on my computer talking about the conjugate system. Okay, conjugate training consists of the momentary influence on the key motor quality to the interconnections corresponding to the specific activity, while preserving the structure of the sport exercise. Sport exercise, what's your sport? I train athletes, so a lot of my athletes have to run and jump. So I'm going to try to do stuff that corresponds to those parameters. Where Louis and like the West Side, the conjugated system that Louis has made popular, has made most of us think speed squats. Well, our sport is not powerlifting, so we don't necessarily have to do speed squats. So what activities do we need to do that's going to correspond to what activities we're trying to go to, okay? Conjugate training, the conjugate method, secures strength development and synthesis with other key qualities while preserving their rational interrelationships to the muscular groups, okay? Conjugate training helps maintain coordination awareness for sport while gaining strength at the same time, which means they're working on the rate of force development. They're not going through block periodization. They're not doing hypertrophy phase, power phase, strength phase. They're doing gaining strength and speed so that like when you're running or when you're dropping, those are skills. So you're basically increasing your strength while working on your skill at the same time. But conjugated training with working on the skill don't necessarily have to be the skill itself. It could be something that's going to help the skill, like the jumps help the sprints. Or deadlift will help the squat. It's things like that. You need to work on stuff and key characteristics that help you sharpen your sport skill without necessarily having to directly do your sport skill. So our jumps will make us run faster. So if I can increase and do our maximum effort, our brief maximum tension, whatever you have it, while sharpening a key skill at the same time, I will be a lot better of an athlete or a lot better of a sport participant, okay? So the special strengths are based off the sports. So hopefully that's conjugate where I read, that came from the translated Russian text, okay? So, okay, all right. So explosive strength is the reactive ability of the neuromuscular system, the ability to display powerful force immediately after an intense muscular stretch, i.e. our dumbbell jumps. Okay, how quickly we can move a very light load. Light enough for us to create a muscular tension, but not too heavy. In managing the training of weightlifters, the snatch and clean pull were used to develop explosive strength. The rapid rapidly execution, the explosion, developing the reactive ability of the muscles, okay? So that's where the explosive strength, that's when dynamic effort, quick movement effort method, dynamic effort method, explosive strength method came from, okay? So we're trying to, although we're like for the Olympic lifting and the powerlifting are very similar to where the Olympic lifters were hang cleaning and hang snatching to develop explosive force, because once the bar is above the knee in the Olympic sports, that's when the explosion happens. So they're working on sharpening that rate of force development where it's critical for them. That's why Olympic lifters don't pull the bar off the floor quickly. They wait till they get to knees because you can only explode once. So they're using, although they're not practicing the full clean, which is pick it up, squat under, then stand up, they're using the hang clean or hang snatch or hang power clean or hang power snatch. The difference between the power part of it, for those you don't know, the power is when you don't squat under. The hang clean, where you pop it and then squat under. The power clean is, or the power snatch, the power clean, I'm trying to get all my things underlined here is that the hang clean, or just the hang, works on sharpening that range of motion where it's critical. Same thing with the snatch. And so although it's not a full clean or a full snatch, it's working on key characteristics so that they're increasing the ability of the, let me see where I'm at. They're just trying to increase the reactive ability of the nervous system. And the only way to increase reactive ability is work on change of direction with that stuff. So hopefully I didn't get too far off where I was wanting to go with some of this stuff. So Ryan, hopefully that answered your question. I've heard you say you guys sometimes do the dynamic effort method and brief flexible tension method in the same sessions. Yes, because it's not necessarily, we're not Westside. And I went to Westside about 2 months ago, and I'll do a podcast on that. And I told Louis I'm not Westside. Louis is just a student just like the rest of it. He wants to learn what other people are doing. All we're doing is telling him what he's told us. So we're just regurgitating what he said and not taking it for what he's trying to, because if you listen to Louis in his podcast, he's like, how do you use it? What do you do? You know, how am I using conjugated system? This is how we use it, because these are athletes that I deal with. You know, it depends on if you're powerlifter, if you're trained powerlifter. I don't train powerlifters. I take athletes to powerlifting meets, but I don't necessarily train powerlifters. Okay. Hopefully I answered some of that stuff. Let's see, max potential things. Yeah, again. Yep. We will do it 3 days a week for bench and squat. Hi, Jared. Just after listening to your max effort podcast, a quick question. Do you do dumbbell jumps on max effort day 2? Yes. You also mentioned squatting 0.6 meters per second. Also on your max effort day. Thanks. Sometimes I'll wave the kids to where we're chasing 0.6s, and it's not loaded heavy enough to be brief maximum tension. 0.6 usually for the average person, about 80%. Brief maximum tension starts at 85%. So sometimes I can wave their weights in the gym based off their squat speeds. But if I think a kid just needs to get a lot stronger before we start kind of becoming more advanced and monitoring our bar speeds, they'll brief maximum tension 3 days a week and not even squat with a tendon on it, because I don't want them to say, oh, my numbers are bad. My numbers are bad. I don't care about your numbers. I care about your straight level. So, okay. Hey, Jared, this is Ryan again. Thank you for all the information that you've been putting out. I'm still a little fuzzy on how you do your squat workouts. If you're squatting 3 days per week, how are you changing the volume intensities between each set and the squat workouts in a week? Depends on how they get the reps. If I'm worried about moving on 0.6 meters per second, that's gonna be totally different than a kid that I don't care about his bar speed. I just care about the strain levels. So it's kind of up in the air. It kind of be something like I would have to train you so that you can try to learn and we can communicate more over time with that, so that you can hopefully understand. But like my kids, my even younger kids, like my own personal kids, still don't even know. Hey, Jared, what do I do? What do I do? So sometimes when you go to gyms, it's easier for someone else to tell you what to do instead of trying to figure this shit out. So, Ryan, I tried to answer it. Hopefully I did. Hopefully some of this stuff that I'm answering or talking about through this entire podcast is giving people some ideas and helping them understand. But the whole key understanding, or for my part of it, is I know how to overload a system, and there's things that I'm looking for that I have to physically see. Like, I do train explosive people outside the gym. I've just not opened it up to the rest of the people out here in the world, because it's different. When you're at the gym, they get quicker and faster gains at the gym than they do when it's online. So if I got kids that go to college, but they still want to train with me because it works. You know, I've got kids right now that drive down 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week from college, that are in college, that are actually starting athletes at D1 schools that still come to me to train so that we can get better, and that's driving to me. So it's just a lot different being at the gym. And for those of you, if you ever want to stop by the gym, feel free, hit me up on email, or that Instagram sometimes works. So let's move on. This is Dan from Baker's Performance. Hey, Jared, thank you for all the information you've been putting out there. I'm still a bit fuzzy on how you do your squat workouts through. If you're squatting 3 workouts per week, are you changing the volume intensities between each squat workouts? in a week. Oh, we just ran over that. Sorry, Dan. Would you be willing to give actual 3 squat workouts done in a week by your athletes that save the intensity and sets reps for each workout? I did do that on a podcast and I have no idea. So like if I'm just worried about strength, don't even worry about the 0.6 meters per second on the squat because that's different. So if we just wanted to straight up go through physical strength, we would go, I start them off at 85%, that's brief maximum tension method. And if I want them to do 3 sets of 4 and a set of 5, so 4, 4, 4, 5. All right, I'm gonna come out with 3 different outcomes based on my population. That 5, that last thing, our squats, we're gonna rest 5 minutes between sets, so I know it's not a rest issue. I may get a 5, I may get a 4, or I may get a 3. So some people may go 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 4, 4, 4, 5. And so based off how they respond, or these kids have individual folders and they're writing their sets and reps back to me. So I'm writing how many, if I want them 85%, 3 sets of 4, set of 5, I'll write that down and see how they respond. You know, I did have one person that even got a 2, went 4, 4, 3, 2. And so that person, next time they come in, that's going to be too hard for them, you know. So that's what's the big thing about high schools, and a lot of times is a lot of people don't take the time like I do to write in these individual folders to figure out their own individual's pattern or where they are, what stress is too high, what stress is too much. Like if we had 3 people, that may be just perfect load for me, or for you, if you're the second person, that may be a little too much. Well, what about the third person? That may be too easy for them. And so then you just kind of base that off of there, and then so day 2, based off what their reps were, is going to be how I'll write the next one. So and usually after the first day is the hard day, trying to figure out what they are. Second one's still a little testy, and that third day, I give them volume. We may do 4 sets of 7 or somewhere around there, 4 sets of 6. With shorter rest breaks, then the next week we'll come in and based off how their 1 and 2 day went. I know the third day is just a little bit volume, a little easier to try to back some stress off. Then they got 2 more days off rest. Then we'll start back over on the next. And we just kind of ramp and roll from there. So, and after about 2 weeks, if the kids are still not handling what I want to, I throw everything out the window and start over. And we figure out a different direction, a different route, and we just do something totally different. So there's a lot of different things. So it's kind of like, not real sure. Okay, Josh Evans, he's a high school physical education and strength conditioning coach. Jared, thank you so much for making your podcast and sharing your knowledge with others. I'm a high school strength coach at a small school in Missouri. I have done my best to use the knowledge you shared in your podcast and discuss what you would do with a high school strength coach, okay? I have a few questions I'd like to ask you. 1, if you increase someone's squat 5% after 4 sets of 4, 85%, okay, yep. Do you still expect them to make that 5 to 6 range? No. They, so if we start off at 85%, they may start off in the 5s. Maybe a 5-3, 5-5, 5-7 range for their first rep. So if they get a 5-3, maybe go to a 5 flat, 4. We're not staying with a 0.5 the entire set. Usually how I have them write it. So like say if you start off at 85%, let's do 4 sets of 4. So your first set, you got a 0.53, and your second set, your second rep, you got a 5-0. Then the next 2 reps were in the 4s. I have them just like a line. I make a line outside their set and rep schemes, 0.53 over 2. So that means they got 2 in the 5s. The next set, they may hit a 5-5, a 5-4, and a 5-0. So it'd be a 5-5 over 3. And the next set, they may hit a 0.52, and the rest are in the 4s. They'd be a 0.52 over 1. And the last set, if they just hit a 0.53 over 1, they go, the first set, they got 2 5s. The second set, they got 3 5s. The third set, they got 1 5. And the fourth set, they got 1 5. So they may end up, I had a kid that squatted a 0.19 on his last rep out of set of 5 the other day. but I was not really worried about his bar speed. I was just worried about his strain level. So if they cannot reach that velocity, drop them back down and wait. If I'm worried about velocity only, yes, I do manipulate the weight more. So are you okay with the athletes getting all the reps in the 4 or 5 range? Yes. I'm wondering if there's a limit on how slow you, 0.19. Usually my max thing is about a 0.27 for me. If I was doing a set of 5, I may first get like a 5.3, a 4.9, 3.7, and a 2.8 or somewhere around there. Just depending on, we're trying to give it maximum effort per rep. So I'm trying to give it maximum strength per rep that I can. So based off what I'm looking for when I'm going for that kid, or based on how advanced that kid is, depends on what I do. Now for my younger ones that are just now starting it, that don't have high school weight training, I'll just regular squat them. So when you program your volume for an athlete, do you wave the volume like Louis does, or you progressively increase volume until a deload week? 4th week of the month actually so for the first 3 weeks of the month, I'm pushing. We don't have an easy day, a hard day, and a medium day. We may have, once we get it, that like I just explained, those first 3 days figured out, it may be straight hard for 2 more weeks. You know, but if they're really dying and they're not doing that, I'm just back off. But I've had really good success with just not even killing them, finish them off through their speed. Like I got started kicker at a university here in Georgia. He's going from running a 5.1 to a 4.7 40-yard dash in season. That's crazy, but all I do is monitor his bar speeds. Sometimes if the kid's really slow, I just monitor if he's got slow strength, he just does everything based off his squat speeds. So sometimes you can take an advanced person and really push them and they still get faster. But if you take a person that's naturally stronger and knows how to grind, and they don't work on their bar velocities, then they're going to suffer a little bit more. So he's excited to see the jump book come out. So yeah, hopefully we're getting that out pretty quick. Okay. Hey Jared, I'm a strength conditioning coach, semi-professional soccer club here in Scotland. I have used your methods to increase my athletes' bench press and test your methodology. We are gaining a 5 kg average increase monthly, just like your gym does. Thank you for your podcast. I may have emailed you for some reason. Any update on the release of the jump book coming out soon, hopefully within the next month, hopefully before February 2022. Absolutely love the podcast, especially your rants and explanations. I emailed him, let him know I was going to do one today. Lastly, would you welcome visitors to the gym in the future? I would love to see the place in action and meet me. So yes, Dylan, if you're ever in town, over here in the States, feel free. I don't care if you want to come in the gym. If I'm not there during gym hours and you're in town or whatever, if I know beforehand, I'll go to the gym. You know, I'll gladly go hang out with you and show you around and talk shop and do whatever. So yeah, thanks. All right, this is from Alex from Sweden. Hey Jared, I'm a semi-competitive long drive golfer. I listened to all your podcasts and found it very inspirational. Thanks, Alex. I've noticed you mentioned you're a golfer as well. Love the sport. Interested in coaching long drive guy? Yeah, hopefully February 2022, I can start doing some of this online training. And I think I'm going to limit it to 10 to 12 people. Not very many, because I'm not going to push it off on an intern. I don't have any interns. I'm going to do it myself. So I'm going to train you, because if you are paying me, I'm going to make sure you get better. Okay, so it's not going to be cheap. It's just going to be, it is what it is. You know, if people want to learn information and want me to train them, it's me training them. It's not someone else. You know, it's going to take my time out of my day. So, but yeah, be interested in doing it, Alex. Cranking that golf ball out there further and further. My 3-iron goes about 250 yards. So it's pretty nice when you don't even have to try to kill the ball. You swing, let the club do the work. But if you got enough power to let that club be in and snap, you'd be knocking the heck out of it. Okay. Jared, thank you for all you do. I've listened to you at the Conjugate seminar at the RAC. I am blown away at the results you're getting. I'm primarily working with baseball populations. With most of the vertical jump numbers improving, their horizontal broad jumps are not. That's correct. That does happen a lot. The broad jumps are going to come from lower back isolation work, like 45 hyper, back extensions, and things of that nature. Do you think their specific jumps are important to develop an explosive strength in baseball athletes? And also, do you incorporate broad jump varieties of jumps or only dumbbell jumps? Only dumbbell jumps. I'm chasing that 40-inch vertical. Once I get that 40-inch vertical, then, just like the other guy asked earlier, Jake, he asked earlier about doing sleds. Once they get that 40-inch vertical, that's a characteristic that they may not come to the gym for a couple of weeks and they still come back and still jump a 40-inch vertical. Once you learn how to jump and you get that programmed into your system, it really does not go away. It does not go down to a 32 unless you're doing something crazy. Or I don't know. I did see that one time. A guy jumped 40-inch, like 17 days in a row, come to the gym, jump a 32 or 33-inch vertical. That means his training for dynamic effort or speed strength is off. So, and I don't really know what he's doing. Maybe do speed squats. You know, you have to test this stuff. I'm trying to tell you what I do. But if you take what I do, then you listen to someone else, you take part with it. I'm gonna do what Jared does 1 week. I'm gonna do what little Johnny does week 2. I'm gonna do what Sam does week 3. I'm gonna do what Louis does week 4. And you rotate that over and over. That's too much variety to go from point A to point B. That's why we chase, once we get that 40-inch vertical, then we can work on our broad jump stuff. We can still work on our broad jump too with the 45 hyper or the back extensions, but not hyper focus on spending too much time broad jumping. We'll use special strengths exercises in order to decrease those things. So we just test broad jump once a month. We get kids to go from 7 feet to 9 feet and things like that. But I don't really talk about a whole lot of that. I don't really focus on that. I just try to focus on getting that vertical. The vertical for us, in the most part, has been a direct indicator that if we're improving that, our 40-yard dash time improve. And so once I have enough of the population that I don't have to worry about if they care about their running speed getting faster or if they're already fast, and they get that 40-inch vertical, I may start doing the broad jump stuff too, just to see what happens. You know, the broad jump could be like an indicator of why they're slower in the 10 and 20, like Jake was mentioning earlier. There's so many different factors out there that are going on. But I was talking to like Michael Fay this past weekend. I don't have interns. I don't have people helping me track all this. I got this data. I've got part of it down, but still it's all on me. So do I incorporate a broad jump variety or jumps with I jump it on dumbbells, incorporate dynamic for the rest of the run. Long-term training effect. Let's touch on the delayed training effect. Sometimes all the training we're doing, the indicators, their vertical jump goes up. So like at the end of each month, if a vertical jump goes up 2.5 inches and their 40-yard dash don't change, it's coming the next month. It's sometimes all the training we've done has not quite caught up with us, and that will have a type of delayed transformation effect. So I test month after month after month after month and try to get as many of these kids to stay consistent as possible. Sometimes it could be how many times a kid squatted per month. If they squat 4 times a month, their 40-yard dashes don't change. Usually I like to get them 7, 8 times minimum to squat before I like to retest their 40-yard dashes. Sometimes it can happen with 6, a little iffy, but the more times I get them to squat, the quicker I get that time to change. If I get that time to change to show them, hey, look, we didn't even work on our running technique at all. We don't run technique. We don't teach them how to run the 40. We don't do any of that. I don't make them better at running the 40. I make them faster at running the 40. And so that's why I'm not really fluffed over and worried about some of these things. But if I'm not getting them in the gym frequently enough, I'm not getting that squat number, I'm not getting those number of jump days in, and I'm not getting my 40-yard dash times. And so like one month I had a kid, he was pretty much the only one that was not that in the gym that did not improve on his vertical and his 40-yard dash when all these other people improved, and he was kind of butthurt. Well, that's the whole reason I wanted to test, because if everybody else is improving and you're not, guess who's not doing something right? You know, so hopefully I'm using that to help motivate kids to want to show up. Because if we can get all this running, if we get running fast, a lot of kids don't want to go over there and overrun or do anything. But if I can show them, hey, this kid went from a 6'3" to a 6 flat in 1 month without doing any running things. I said, well, that's a lot better than doing running drills. And he said, heck yeah. Now we're getting stronger. Now we're getting faster. So anyway, hopefully next week do another podcast, Christmas week, Christmas Eve. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Guys, for those of you that I went through your emails and stuff and if I didn't quite answer the full question that you wanted, please feel free to email me again. I'm going to try to do another podcast within the week. So, and I'm going to talk about the truth about speed training next episode. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Email me, info@Explosive Mechanics, Instagram, Explosive MEC, Explosive Mechanics on Instagram, Explosive MEC on Twitter. If you do listen to this full episode, please follow me on YouTube. Share the YouTube so we can grow that and get this out there and get this a lot better. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.